Ready?
What's this? An overabundance of bees in the workplace? My briefcase full of bees ought to put a stop to that. Ah! The situation has only been made worse with the addition of yet more bees!
It's Jack Clock, and today we will be talking about objectively the best Zorro cereal ever made, Zorro's Fighting Legion.
During the 1930s and 40s, a style of film had reigned supreme over Hollywood known as the film serial. These films were split into several parts, each ending with a spectacular cliffhanger performed by a talented stuntman. These were rather popular, and several companies made plenty of money off of these, including our dear friend Republic Pictures. Many famous serials called The Eagle, Captain Marvel, Batman even, and Superman, and especially our friend Zorro were common at this time. However, during the 1950s, the invention of the television set and television networks quickly made the film serial obsolete, with future Zorros becoming more popular than said Zorro serials ever were. In 1939, Republic decided to once again use the Zorro character after the abysmal Bold Caballero and the often forgotten Zorro Rides Again, and dubbed it Zorro's Fighting Legion. This film starred Reed Hadley in the role, who was a very famous stuntman. Back then, stuntmen were being notorious for being able to obtain roles just for their looks and acrobatic ability rather than their acting, so this was no exception. However, this movie was made a lot better by his talent, by doing several deadly stunts. Many of them you will be seeing in this review. The story is quite long and has lots of filler, so only expect to see the essentials for this episode. Also, spoilers. After the stylish opening credits, actually, let's talk a little bit more about these. One thing that movie serials do a lot better than most movies today is having a stylish opening credits scene that gets you pumped up to see what's going to happen with these characters. They all show their personalities through their movement, and basically it means you get to just waste less dialogue on explaining who they are, and the audience gets to know, oh, he's the evil one, or oh, he's the nice one. It saves a lot of time, and it actually looks quite nice. The film begins with, oddly enough, a history lesson of Mexico's independence from Spain, meaning that this takes place years after Zorro's original adventures in Spanish California. Well then, that sounds a little bit similar to another Zorro movie if I do say so myself. The suspiciously looking Caucasian Council of Mexico, it was a different time, are debating on how to fight against Mexico's new enemies. One of the people at the meeting is named Benito Juarez, a Mexican patriot who's very eager to build Mexico into a strong government, who even shouldn't be alive at this point, makes a valid point that Mexico needs money from the San Miguelito mine in order to fund its treasury. The council members all agree with Juarez, including Chief Justice Pablo, finding the new laws quite favorable. The head of the mine, Gonzalez, is promised with keeping the mine in check. Commandant Manuel is in charge of guarding the gold shipments from this mysterious Don Del Oro character, a man who the local, highly superstitious Yaqui tribe mistakes as a god. This mysterious leader is inciting violence against the Mexican people, and Juarez wants to get to the bottom of this man's identity. However, what he does not know is that the council he had just spoke with were actually sympathizers to Don Del Oro himself, vying to crush Mexico and building an empire over its ashes. Don Del Oro is quite successful at what he does. His soldiers steal shipments of gold from the Mexicans, and the soldiers cannot do anything due to the corrupt leadership steering them into defeat. Yaqui Indians are slaughtering Mexican troops, and Don Del Oro inches closer to total domination of the land every day, his golden tendrils wrapping around Mexico as we speak. To make matters even worse, Don Francisco, one of the only non-corrupt governors, has been assassinated by Don Del Oro's men in a bar. With everyone standing against him unable to fight back, who will defend Mexico now? That's right, Zorro shows up and... Wait, what the hell is he wearing? Apparently, this was actually done to hide the actor's face whenever the stuntman needed to replace Reed Hadley. Come on, you could have made something better than that. Don Francisco reveals himself to be the uncle of Don Diego and tells him to take his place in the council. Not wanting to arouse suspicion, Zorro and his new friend Ramon take on the role of fops in order to fool the council into thinking they're harmless. Oh, I wonder where I've heard of that plot point before.
This is my ward, Bolita.
Meanwhile, the 4 assassins from earlier are summoned to Don Del Oro's lair by secret message. Another group does the same, except for one guy who decides to stay around and play some cards. Big mistake for him, as he is brought to Don Del Oro and...
Wait till you see the... No, 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 no. Look at the top of his head. Look at his lips.
Wait. That guy's the villain? Oh, come on. He looks hilarious. How could anyone be afraid?
Why?
I guess Don Del Oro's not as goofy when you see what he does, especially with the intimidating voice.
Thus, Don Del Oro deals with the enemies of his Yankees. You saw what happened to Sebastian. Remember the lesson. No man can stop me from using the Yankees to keep gold out of Mexico City.
Also, on a side note, doesn't the chanting of the Yankees sound similar to another Zorro story?
Don Del Oro.
As Don Del Oro is raising his army, Diego is coming back to his new home. When Diego arrives, he pulls his classic role as a fop to make himself seem harmless. As usual, this is just a cover for Diego to do his Zorro thingy. Unlike most Zorro stories, he isn't doing this alone. In a cave far from civilization, Francisco's former army is sitting and waiting for their new leader. Suddenly, Zorro steps in and takes the place of commander and leader. After an annoyingly long oath,
I solemnly swear to uphold the Republic of Mexico. I solemnly swear to uphold the Republic of Mexico. With my sword and with my life. With my sword and with my life. I will be loyal and always strive to be a worthy member of this fighting legion. I will be loyal and in all ways strive to be a worthy member of this fighting legion.
the Legion starts cracking down on Don Del Oro's men. Their first battle is to protect a cargo of gold from a Yaqui ambush. Oh my god, what's with this story and these goofy screams of pain? Anyways, a fun little fight scene happens and Zorro's men win the day. However, he eavesdrops on some of Don Del Oro's saboteurs who have a trap for the train. Using his plot armor and unusually bloodthirsty fighting skills to fight off the incoming Yaquis, he manages to warn the shipment guards just in time before a deadly hillside explosion almost kills him in the first cliffhanger. While he manages to survive by a hair, or by a whip, as I should say, his reputation is not so fortunate. Commandant Manuel blames the attack on Zorro's Legion, causing the masked man to become an outlaw. During a meeting of Legion members, two of Don Del Oro's men are taking a stroll around the woods for some reason, and stumble across the giant flaming Z used to summon members. They decide to use this to spring a trap. Seriously though, that is the stupidest thing Zorro has ever done. I'm not exaggerating either. Why ever give away your signal every time you men go outside. Anyone could see this. In fact, the villains take this ability to their advantage, and they almost kill Ramon. In fact, they would have succeeded in killing him in a firing squad if it weren't for Diego's insect intervention.
What is that? What is that? What is it? Oh, no, not the beast! Not the beast! Ah! Open my eyes! My eyes! Ah! Ah!
One positive, however, is that the scene may have inspired a scene in another Zorro movie, where Diego creates a very similar Z in order to distract the villains, allowing his apprentice to sneak into their hacienda. But still, that actually makes sense. This one doesn't. Anyways, so Don Del Oro instructs his men to set the flaming Z trap I mentioned earlier, which would lure Zorro and his legion into the St. Nicholas Church, which is rigged to explode. These guys really aren't messing around, are they? Zorro and his soldiers are lured to the mansion, and Ramon is shot and falls unconscious. Out of the frying pan into the fire. You try not to get shot, then you get shot anyways a few hours later, leading for Zorro to have to carry him out of the building just as it explodes. Thinking that Zorro was dead and not realizing his plot armor the size of the moon, Don Del Oro and his minions do as they please, not worried about any interference as they steal tons of gold from the San Mentalito mine. A spy for Zorro was soon suspected to be working at said mine, with the villains due to one of the workers actually missing their number tag. Guess that's a problem? The spy soon found out and would have been killed if Diego had not been paying a visit, saving the spy's life while looking like a bumbling idiot at the same time. Things only get worse for Don Del Oro's soldiers as Tarmac, the Yaqui leader, is accidentally spotted by Diego and Ramon. Tarmac obviously runs, but his comrade is taken to him by the Mexican council. The council, corrupted by Don Del Oro, plans to save the prisoner by taking him anyways. But Diego manages to bribe him to talk until he gets iced by a golden arrow.
So die all traitors to Don Del Oro.
Ah, come on, you don't have to be so rude about that.
Our connection with the mine is known.
Since Don Del Oro's plan for exploiting the mine has been revealed, he wants the place blown to hell before it can be investigated. Diego is also making a trip to the mine to find clues to Don Del Oro's identity. When Zorro gets there, the villains are putting gold out of the mines via elevator. Zorro sneaks in with his legion heading over to assist him. However, two guards walk by and stumble into him, causing them to jump Zorro and set off the alarm. Hey, have you seen The Last Jedi yet? Oh, no, not yet, I haven't. Oh shit, it's Zorro! The Three Stooges minus one continue to body the hell out of Zorro, knocking him off the elevator shaft and into a pile of explosives. Ah!
Did you press the stop button? No, did you? No?
Zorro deals with that pretty fast, come on, he has work boots, but still has to contend with the elevator, which is descending right on top of him. Zorro escapes and the mine is secure. Another win for Mexico. During the battle, however, Zorro managed to pick up a historically inaccurate pistol off of the ground. He plans to ask all the gunsmiths who bought the weapon and what method of time travel they used to get it. Speaking of guns, the council is deciding to arm the Yaquis using the gunsmith Juarez. The other Juarez? I'm confused. His plan is to redirect the convoy of arms normally going into Mexico to be given to... Sneaking into the dude's warehouse, Zorro overhears him and some of Don Del Oro's supporters shipping guns to the Yaquis. However, he gets spotted by... Okay, stop. We need to address the giant African bull elephant in the room. In other Zorro stories, he was always a legend of stealth. El Zorro could make himself invisible to the common eyes and ears of the soldiers. Whenever he was discovered, he always found a quick way to escape to prevent capture or death from the authorities. However, this asshole keeps getting caught over and over again, with him having to fight a long, drawn-out battle against two measly guards, and having to rely on his army to do most of his shit for him. Zorro himself is actually garbage at fighting, with him getting bodied by basically everyone he fights. Anyways, Zorro runs away like a pansy and tells Ramon to summon his legion. Tomas, one of the men at the armory, tries to run away but is caught by Zorro. With Tomas's soldiers closing the distance, Zorro and his horse manage to jump from one cliffside to another. Not wanting to give up so easily, they take the long way over to Zorro and force him to try and escape through a creaky-ass bridge. On his way over to the creaky-ass bridge, he gets blocked by Yakis and has to traverse the creaky-ass bridge under a hail of spears, arrows, and bullets. I could see memes being made out of that.
It could be you. It could be me. It could even be...
I'm just gonna be honest with you, this whole pregnant girlfriend about to retire thing is about as cliche as it gets. I mean, what if instead he's your twin brother? Ow!
However, the Yaki is not dead, and cuts the rope of the creaky-ass bridge, causing Zorro to barely escape with his life. Meanwhile, Don Del Oro's men catch up with the convoy and force them to change their route. The soldiers decline and are gunned down by the Golden God's thugs. The villains try to run off, but their trail is stopped to a halt when Zorro sets their only pathway ablaze. They decide to drop everything they are doing in order to try and kill the masked man, but Zorro manages to throw them off and catch up with his legion, all of them vowing to avenge the poor souls on the convoy. The council's meeting and subsequent slandering of Zorro is brought to an end when a rock containing a note tells them all that the location of the guns can be brought back by Zorro. Diego tells the council to prepare for war, and Don Del Oro will be moving the munitions to where Zorro can now have the advantage in finding them. Zorro's scout tips the location of the munitions to the Legion and sets up a trap for the incoming convoy. Zorro and another soldier jump over to the coaches while the rest of the Legion leads most of the soldiers away. A desperate gunfight is raging as the villains are desperately trying to regain their upper hand. Planning on tossing the wagon away, Zorro's men cover him as he catches up to the munitions. He's barely able to escape in time as the munitions are rigged to explode. Decisively defeating the enemy forces, the Legion then distracts the guards protecting the council, while Zorro himself drops off the firearms.
Zorro always fulfills his promise.
While the villains are still suffering from defeat, they see Ramon and Diego talking to one another, causing them to kidnap him and try and force Zorro's identity out of his mouth. Let me say something. Ramon gets the worst out of anyone in this movie. He gets shot, he gets tortured, and he almost dies by a firing squad, and much, much more. Eventually you start feeling sorry for the guy after all the abuse he takes throughout the film. However, Ramon is quite brave, as he refuses to rat out his friend Zorro, even after threat of torture. Zorro himself is meanwhile interrogating a nearby agent of Don Del Oro, informing the bandit of Ramon's location. The masked man walks up to the side of Ramon's sister about to be tortured by the soldiers of Don Del Oro. Zorro shows up and starts fighting off the torturers until they force him into a room with no doors on Zorro's side. The torturers pull a crank that causes the wall to move closer in order to crush Zorro to death. Zorro escapes via a cement block. I don't know how that works. And escapes just in time as the Legion arrives. As the rest of the crew flees from terror from Zorro's army, the bandit in black himself rescues Ramon and his sister. Diego suspects that one of the council members is Don Del Oro in disguise, and it is up to him to find out who the Golden God truly is and bring him to justice. Diego spins a lie to the most likely subject, Manuel, and tells him that he paid one of Don Del Oro's men to tell him who the Golden God's identity is. This makes Manuel rather paranoid, and he goes to tell the council about the hunt for the supposed traitor. Diego tricks Manuel into accidentally admitting his collaboration with Don Del Oro and is taken to the council. Manuel escapes and rides off. Zorro chases Manuel down and performs a stunt that would later be replicated in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Zorro then captures Manuel and then has Ramon put on his costume and covers him in bandages, and then throws him into the local jail cell in order to put Don Del Oro's men into a trap. However, Don Del Asshole does not plan on letting Manuel leave alive and tries to burn Ramon in his own cell. Zorro barely breaks out his partner in time and orders Ramon to run. Ramon is eventually captured, but it is revealed to Don Del Oro that the man that they captured is an imposter. Meanwhile, the real Manuel escapes and plans to return to Don Del Oro. El Zorro sneaks into the Golden God's chambers to reveal Ramon, and the two of them are trapped into a water-filled room.
Where's the money, Lebowski? Where's the money, shithead?
The two escape and meet out with the Legion, where they find Manuel running away and interrogate him. Before Manuel can answer who Don Del Oro is, he is shot by the signature golden arrow of his former boss.
Ironic.
The council decides to make Manuel look like Don Del Oro in order to cover their trail until the news comes back that Manuel was killed by the golden arrow. The paranoia of the council escalates when Diego, trying to prevent them from discovering his identity as Zorro, fabricates that he knows the fellow. Just before he can tell the story, the Yaqui assassin from earlier nearly hits him, but was aiming for the mirror by accident. Wow, that was lucky. Tarmac, the shooter and leader of the Yaquis, escapes via water wagon. Despite the council's insistence, Diego believes that Tarmac invaded the guards with the wagon. Traveling back to the mine where it was headed, Diego and Ramon are attacked by Don Del Oro's assassin while inspecting the mine. The next morning, Diego discovers that the water wagons are actually shipping firearms to the Yaquis, as a result of the failure with the convoys from last time. Zorro infiltrates the Hernandez store and puts a halt to the shipment. However, Zorro is knocked unconscious and taken into the water wagon. The Legion catches up with the wagon, hoping to save Zorro. However, they mistakenly shoot the driver and cause the wagon to lose its course and fly into the river. He manages to float away and put a stop to the munitions. One of the crew members for the shipment, a militant Yaqui named Kala, is going to be executed simply for being caught by his own allies. However, Zorro rescues him and convinces him that Don Del Oro is actually trying to cause pointless rebellion in order to become the Emperor. He does not believe this at first, but Zorro assures him that this is true by telling Kala about the Golden God's betrayal of him. Kala and Zorro enter Don Del Oro's cave to find an empty suit of armor. Convinced that Don Del Oro is a fraud, Kala tells the other Yaquis to see for themselves. However, when Zorro and the others return...
See, there's nothing to fear.
Psych! That's the wrong number!
The Yaquis are ordered to kill Zorro in front of Don Del Oro. Is this the end for our masked hero? Did I accidentally leave the pizza too long in the microwave? Nope. He manages to cause some sparks in the fire pit and he escapes in all the chaos. What, you think the filmmakers had the balls to kill off Zorro? Things still don't look good for him, as the Yaquis are now arming up to invade Mexico en masse. Don Del Oro is secretly in the council and has ordered the Mexican militia out of town where they cannot fight. And now Zorro has to chase down the fleeing council members by himself. As Zorro is riding to Don Del Oro's cave, Kala is trying to convince the other Yaquis that Don Del Oro will not keep his promise of arriving at midday to fight, in order to prove the Golden God is actually a golden fraud. However, he does not realize that Don Del Oro has arrived to the cave in secret. Tying up loose ends, he murders the other two council members and arrives exactly at midday.
Behold, my people, the hourglass has run out. Don Del Oro has failed you.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Just as the Yaquis are about to execute Kala, Zorro rescues him at the last moment. Killing Tarmac, he turns his attention to the Golden God himself, with the two engaging in a fight that Zorro should have won faster than he did. Alright, you see, Don Del Oro is covered from head to toe in large golden plating. Not only is it heavy, but it's also very weak against attacks, making it very useless as armor. His outfit is complete with a giant helmet that has no visibility at all. It's also very heavy too. However, since Zorro is weaker than Adam Sandler's attempts at humor, it is a very close fight. However, just as all hope seems lost, Zorro knocks off Don Del Oro's helmet, revealing his identity. His army, seeing that he lied to them, decide to send him into the very pit of fire he used for execution.
I love you.
I know.
With Don Del Oro defeated, Zorro can rest easy. Zorro rides off into the sunset with his fighting legion, ready to take the call to justice whenever needed. While this movie's not the best Zorro story in any measure, it does leagues better than Bold Caballero Don Q.
Have mercy. Please.
Zorro, you chatter-like part of me chasing them out.
Instead of just characters just talking, or trying to get married, or laughing, or doing poor voice acting, or not having to do anything with Zorro at all, the character's in the full spotlight this time. You see him sword fight, gun fight, whip fight, fist fight, whatever fight. He escapes from deadly situations, and now he has an entire army behind his back. That's like badass as hell. Who wouldn't want to watch that? Speaking of an army, it was actually quite obvious that Zorro's Legion was based off of the army that Zorro creates during the Douglas Fairbanks film and Curse of Capistrano, with them even sharing similar uniforms. The action was also quite good. Well, I did make fun of the fact that Zorro was looking around and fighting people. There were pretty good fights, mostly revolving around the big battles between him, his legion, and the enemies. The acrobatics Zorro could do in the very few moments he was gaining the upper hand were very awesome to win. And while he did lose a lot, it was always refreshing to see Zorro not on top of everything for once, like a normal human would be. Another plus for the movie is, well, he is kind of silly at times, like when he wore that goofy towel. He can also be misinterpreted as racist for a few people, and he is also a little bit goofy in the design. He's still an interesting villain. It's a very fun idea to watch someone try to become an emperor of a country, rather than just having some greedy governor or captain try and steal money for money's sake. He's also rather menacing with his booming voice and how much power he has. Nobody can be trusted as long as he's alive, and his followers don't even like him. They just have to work with him because otherwise they'll get burnt alive or shot. Another reason why he's so fun is because they leave his identity for you to speculate for him. When he is revealed, you can actually go back on the story and look back at the clues left behind, like the character's voice sounding so similar to another. There are some problems with the story I do have. One of them being that the settings are very empty. You see almost no people walking around unless they're very important to the story in some way, and it makes California feel very barren. As a native Californian myself, that's not very true. Another small problem was the lack of Z's being carved. Except for the one in the beginning, there really aren't any in the rest of the movie. And that's a shame. I mean, Zorro, practically the whole shtick of being the Z's is like a part of his character. It's just really upsetting to see a lack of it in this movie. This is also just a nitpick, but Zorro's mask... Do I even have to explain? Just look at it. I get there's an actual reason why. This story and the other ones in and after the Republic saga had to cover Zorro's face when they needed to replace him with a stunt double. That makes a lot of sense, and I mean I'll give them credit for that, but it's still goofy. I mean, you just had to take the one good thing that came out of Bold Caballero and just ignore it. Another thing is that the movie is kinda racist. While it's not something as terrible like Birth of a Nation or even the previously mentioned Jazz Singer, it can be uncomfortable at times. Time for a history lesson. The Yankees were a real tribe that were actually quite advanced by the time Zorro's Fighting Legion takes place. But you couldn't tell in this movie because they barely wear anything, use spears, and live in a cave. They don't even worship anyone named Don Del Oro in real life as far as I know. Literally everything except for the name and a little bit of the geography was fabricated for them to be the stereotypical cowboys and Indians trope that would sadly be done in multiple Zorro serials. Overall, the movie was good. Not the best, but still better than goddamn Bold Caballero. Zorro's Fighting Legion is often considered to be a classic amongst film fans. Many people were inspired by the film, like John Ford of Stagecoach, and Jar Jar is the key to all of this, Lucas's Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Everyone who I've seen on the internet talking about this movie gives it lots of praise, and I've even seen a few people throw around the phrase of one of the best movie serials of the 1930s, if not the best in general. While I do think the movie's pretty good, I won't give it that title until I compare it to our next episode's Zorro serial, Zorro Rides Again, a serial released only a few years prior. Will it be as good or cherished as this film? Find out on Road to Zorro Reborn.
With the wind as we go side by side.